Hello, everybody, and welcome to eCore's Fireside Chat. We're creating a space here where we invite experts to share insights about all things IT and how they are propelling companies into the future world. This conversation is presented by eCore, technology partner that this year is celebrating 25 years of its evolution. And we hope to continue to showcase the evolution that eCore has been doing over the years through this series. In today's fireside chat, we've got a privilege of bringing in two experts, particularly in the cloud computing space. And the reason I love talking to both Filipe and Bruno, as we're about to introduce, is that we're seeing that cloud computing is becoming more and more in the forefront of not just technology, but a pivotal role in business agility, scalability, and innovations. And we're seeing this in startups, we're seeing this in multinational companies. The ability to move into cloud is offering tools and technologies once only accessible to some of the tech giants, now available to everyone. What we're going to focus on particularly is how businesses can leverage cloud not just to meet but exceed their strategic objectives. My name is Dan Teixeira. I am the North American Managing Director for eCore, and I will be the host for this conversation. And as I am just new into eCore, I am really privileged to bring Filipe and Bruno here. Filipe as our global practice lead of AWS, and Bruno as our solutions architect within eCore. In the time that I've already been here, they have elevated my mindset towards cloud. Nice little pun there for you guys. And I'm really excited to bring them into my network and make them their knowledge set available to everyone else. Bruno, let's start with an introduction from you.
Sure. Hey everyone. So as Dan told, my name is Bruno. I work here at eCore as a solutions architect, and I really into tech and all that since the beginning of my life. And I got started with AWS and cloud while I was studying for web development because I was learning all about this backend, front end things, and then I created my own website. And I was wondering how can my friend check my website, and he couldn't because everything was running on my computer. And then I learned that there's this thing called cloud, which does not run in the sky; it runs on physical servers. But it's a thing that's a lot of business are using. And then I got started studying. I actually work a bit in AWS itself for a time before joining eCore, and now I'm in the middle of this thing of also learning, but now I can help customers with their business problems. And that's the thing about solutions architecture, specifically on cloud. We help business solve their business issues with technology, and AWS and other clouds has lots of things to offer to speed up this process. And I think that's a little bit of what we are talking in this fireside chat.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Bruno. Filipe, I'll switch it over to you. An introduction to yourself as well.
Hey Dan, hey Bruno, huge pleasure being with you here today for this talk that we'll have. Quick introduction. So I've been working with cloud for a while. I studied electronic engineering in the university. I started my career as a mobile development for Android and iPhone too, but a little bit more towards Android. And that's when I started using cloud technologies a little bit more than 10 years ago. Technology's changed a lot since then. We'll talk a little bit about that during the day. And well, I actually founded a company in 2013 to focus on cloud technology. And that company was acquired by eCore 2 years ago. So that's where things connected. So eCore has had this specialty in the Atlassian ecosystem and the agility ecosystem and the development ecosystem. and 2 years ago acquired the company that I founded to connect this with cloud technology. And it's been a great journey. And Dan, as you said, you've learned a lot about cloud with us. We've learned a lot with you about business, about development, about the Agile, everything related to Agile. So it's been a huge pleasure. And I'm excited for the conversation that we'll have.
Yeah, it should be great. Now, I won't say the exact years that you've had your experience in, but I'm just going to say that when we were younger trying to start up businesses, we used to lie that we've been in industry for a decade, even though we were, new with fresh ideas. Now, when they talk about, yeah, we have been here for 15, 10 years, we kind of don't want to show our age. So you've been here a while, but you've seen some transition over a period of time, Filipe. What is the shift that got cloud computing from being something seen as an infrastructure in the basement of many of these organizations into having a seat at the executive table, as we're starting to see?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's been a while. We were talking. It's been a little bit over a decade. It is quite strange, and it's really great to see like how it evolved, right? So if I go back to 2013, that's when we founded the company that was acquired by eCore. When we talked about cloud, it was really limited to like infrastructure as a service and a little bit of platform as a service and all that, but really, let's say basic technologies for what we have today. So you'd have a virtual server, you'd have some storage, you'd have a managed database, but you didn't have the building blocks that we have today. And it was 2015 that new concepts such as serverless started to come out. I remember AWS launched Lambda, which is a function as a service solution in 2015. And then in 2016, they launched the support for Python, right? I was at reInvent when they launched that. I mean, I felt I was in a soccer stadium in Brazil when they said that Lambda now had Python, because everyone was going crazy with all that new technology and things that we, like most people, wouldn't imagine to be possible back then, because we focused just on server and infrastructure, and not really like the small building blocks of compute, not buying like milliseconds of processing, not buying a specific service that could use machine learning to recommend something to you, but as a service. So I think that from 2015 to 16 until 2019, a lot of those services really launched, and it was crazy. And like we'd go to AWS reInvent at the end of the year and expect so many crazy launches and say, what are they going to do next? And new things came out. And I think in the past years, we're getting more into more mature level, right? So we have a bunch of new technologies, of course, like amazing, disrupting things still come out, but we're focusing more on like, how do we actually make these things that we launched safer or more prepared for the enterprise world, more easier to manage, bring more governance into that. So I think that's how it evolved. But if we go back 10 years, I mean, we were talking about virtual services, server storage, and some managed services. So it's been a huge change.
That's awesome. And we're seeing the conversation changed. Bruno, you were telling me earlier that you were in some clients as early as like today and having the conversation. What are some of the benefits that we're seeing attract to our clients as we're seeing them today? What are the benefits we're seeing out of AWS and cloud computing?
Yeah, that's a thing I really like talking about with customers. Like when they ask me, why move to cloud? Why use cloud services? And the phrase I mostly use is that cloud empowers all kinds of business with high-end solutions and technologies. So as you said in the beginning, small companies, startups, enterprises, all of them can use solutions in the cloud that are high-end and can really try out new things fast as just clicking a couple of buttons. And this is a tricky one because you can just click a couple of buttons and do a lot of stuff, but you have to know what you are doing. But the main thing of running workloads in the cloud is how you really uses the ready solutions, not just running servers. Because if you buy some servers on premises and you expect that you can just migrate and you have all the benefits of the cloud, you won't. Like the benefits that we commonly say is like cost savings. If you run just servers, you will probably not have saved a lot of money. You need to use those solutions. You can improve how your staff works, because if you have like an on-premises the data centers, you have to worry about energy, like the power supply. You have to worry about AC. You have to worry about physical security. You have to worry about like memory, because sometimes memories go wrong and then you have to call the memory supplier for backups, all of that. And if you need to worry about these things, you need people working on it. So if you go to cloud and you don't have to worry about these things, your staff, the people that work for your company, can focus on what brings more value to your business. And that's the thing. Empowering the business with cloud is having people working on things that goes straight to the business, not only technical stuff, but things that really come up with solutions for your business. And a thing that mostly on startups, for example, is if you had a company like, let's say 15 years ago, and you started in the US and you want to go to Europe, you would have to understand like how does data centers work in Europe, go there, buy some physical servers. So the cost of going global before cloud, it was really expensive, in a point that most of companies would not be able to go global if they didn't have a lot of money to invest. Now any company can, with a couple buttons clicked, go global instantaneously with cloud. So this is a thing that really impacts mostly on startups, that they can grow really really fast with a small amount of upfront money.
And Bruno, just a compliment, because you talked about some examples of startups, but I think the same concepts they apply to areas in consolidated and enterprises, right? So if you're a big company back in the day, you wouldn't have margin to test, to implement, to try something new. Now you can build a team and say, yeah, you go and try that, and that doesn't impact the business. So you create like a blast zone where you can test and implement, and that really works. That there's a big company that they call, like, they understand they're big, so they're like a ship moving, right? They can't make big changes. So whenever they have an idea that they want to test, they create teams that they call jet skis, right? Because jet skis are fast, so they implement a small team, and that team goes to test that other thing, and that doesn't interfere with the ship that's moving, but you have the jet skis trying other things. So I think that is true for any kind of company in any size.
So if you have your applications running on your servers and you want to try a new thing as an enterprise, you would probably need to call like a supplier to get new racks, new servers, new memory, new all of that. And mostly it would take like 6 months to get you something. So you would need to wait 6 months if you want to start testing something. With cloud, you can just open the console, click some buttons, and spin up 10 servers in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and not just that, you can already set up your security policies and all that, so you can do everything with that prepared. So yeah, Dan, that's a little bit of all the changes in that.
No, that's awesome. And what I'm taking away from the conversation is a couple things here. First off is that we're seeing, and I've seen this from the agility standpoint as well, right? That you have organizations, large organizations, they want to be more nimble. Startups want to be bigger. Startups, faster than some of the larger organizations, accrue technical debt and get legacied out pretty quickly because things are moving so fast. And it's almost as if these things are kind of the line between startup and large enterprises is getting smaller and smaller. And it's because they're leveraging more of these new ways of working, new mindsets, new technologies that are coming in. So it all yields back to, though, the adoption. And the adoption for many yields to looking at and measuring success and the impact that it has. Bruno, what kind of successes and impacts have you seen on your cloud-based solutions for the clients that we've been working with?
So currently, all my new customers, I really go deep in what they are trying to do and how that impacts on their business. Because in the end of the day, all this technical thing we do, all these services that we use, they are there and they are being used to give business value, to make you have more income and all that. So I really try to go deep in what does the company needs to succeed, and then I align that with the technical decisions I make for the solutions. And one example we have is a customer here in Brazil. They are called Consul. They do bank consolidation. So basically, they have like their customers are like supermarkets and those kind of company. And those companies have received payments. Like if you go to a supermarket, you can pay with your credit card. The supermarket will have a system like a ERP, and then they will receive the payment, but they will also receive the payment in their bank account. And Conceal helps them matching those things so they know if everything is going well in the end of the day. And Conceal was running their work, all the data processing to match this thing because it's a really complex thing to do. They were running it in our Oracle databases in Oracle Cloud, and they scaled it so much that they could not have more customers because there were not a larger database instance, so they could not scale it. Just the sales team could not get more customers because they could not scale. So the company was feeling this impact by the technical thing they were doing. And what we did was understanding all the data that they need to do to the consolidation thing, and we reshaped all the architecture, creating a new one that's more aligned to their business. And that had a lot of great results. Like we can say about the higher performance, they are processing 10 times more files per minute than they were before. So the problem they had of not being able to handle new customers was solved. And one thing about the complexity as well, they had 600 times less complexity, so 600 times less data schemas. And that's a lot of things because imagine how many people were needed to manage it, to create new data structures, to improve was impossible. So those kind of changes really help. And it's not like a AWS thing. It's about the decisions we made and how we understood the business and we translated the business needs to technological solutions. And that's the core thing. What we do here is getting the business, and that's what happened to Conceal, and that's what happened in other customers, is understanding the business needs and translating it to technical solutions that scale well in the cloud.
This is why I joined eCore. When I joined, I mean, there's so many case studies and so many examples of the value that we have provided that it's astronomical, and I get really excited about them. I get really excited about showcasing them and seeing the quality work that our team members do here. Now we do quality work. Filipe, you're our thought leader here. You and I have a lot of fun brainstorming on stuff. Where do you see the vision for the future of cloud computing and its role in the growth of business, and particularly maybe focus on what kind of stuff is eCore doing to continue to evolve that?
Right. That's another great question, Dan. So I think when I think of us, like I think we're doing a lot of stuff, but like the people that came up with these technologies, they are so far ahead from us. And why am I saying this? Because Werner Vogels, the CTO for Amazon, he actually has a white paper from 10 years ago that says things that companies aren't doing yet. And I think that's kind of the next step. But so what I'm saying is the next step is something that someone's been talking about for 10 years, but no one's been doing. So I think during these last years with cloud computing, people really focused on the technology, right? It's so cool. It's so new. It's so fast. And with too much enthusiasm, maybe lacked a view of business. So a lot of companies, I talk to them and I ask, so why did you migrate to the cloud? They're like, oh, because everyone's doing, but not measuring a lot of the business impact. And there's a white paper that's cost-aware architectures from 2012, I think, that says that you should understand how your business makes money, and your architecture should follow that money. So you need to understand how are you generating profit from your technology decisions. And not a lot of companies do that. And that's what I'm seeing, like, more companies worry because they focus so much on technology that it was cool, but they didn't think about the impact on that. So an example, and that's a really good example from the keynote that Werner gave in AWS reInvent at the end of last year, is that, for example, at Amazon, one metric that they always look at is the conversion rate per transaction, right? So they understand what's their conversion rate. So they're in e-commerce, right? So they need to sell more. So every deploy they make, they understand how that impacts that metric. So, I think that there's a really cool tool that I think it's going to be a really good feature for my customers and all that. When I deploy, I need to understand what is the impact that deploy had on my business metric, that it could be number of my conversion rate, for example, or my cost per transaction. I mean, we can have a lot of metrics. So each company needs to understand what is that important metric that they should measure on every change they make with technology. Otherwise, we're just using technology because it's fun and not because it generates business results. So that's what I'm seeing companies focus right now. And of course, we're talking so much about Gen AI. I mean, a lot of the talk related to Gen AI is AI that we've had technology to do for a bunch of years, but I think it's more popular now and more companies are getting to use that. But I think it connects. It connects with this thing of how to generate value to the business through technology and not just talk about technology by itself.
The key to that AI piece is the data, right? We've all know that's where that's coming from, and that's important. Can you talk a little bit about the value of an organization's data sets and how that is really enabling them to innovate within their space?
Perfect. So I have some data here that I think that helps. And at the end of the day, people say that data is the new oil and all that. And if we don't have quality data, we won't generate value through that. I mean, there's a quote. It's an R-rated quote, so I use the PG-13 version. That is, bad data in, bad data out. So we need to have quality data, right? And there are some numbers. I mean, that in 2022, it was 106 zettabytes of data that were created or replicated. I mean, that's thousands and thousands and thousands of terabytes, so it's a lot of data. And 68% of the companies, they can't see the value from their data, and only 28% of the companies have a strategy for the data. And at the end of the day, companies are they say they're data oriented, but they're really not. They have too much data, but they can't manage that data, and that's been a challenge. And they're collecting 70% of the companies are collecting data faster that they can use and they can process, right? So we talk a lot about data, but it's kind of that those, not really collectors, but that people that let me put all this stuff in my house that I'll use it someday, but then you never use it, and that's just using space. It's generating a mess, and then you never stop to clean up, right? So that's a little bit of the challenge. And you do have frameworks and methodologies to use and understand your data better. And at the end of the day, it comes from the business, right? We can't, there are ways to start from the data, explore, and try to find if there's something quite interesting there. But I really like Amazon's approach when we talk about working backwards, right? Let's understand what our customers need, what are their challenges. And like Ford said, if we asked people what they wanted, they'd say faster horses. And that's not what I'm talking about when I say to listen to our customers, right? You really understanding and doing tests and A/B tests and things like that to find new solutions that will deliver value to them. And then we go and understand our data to try to build that solution. So that's kind of the way that we believe in working. And there are a lot of methodologies and frameworks that can guide in that direction. But at the end of the day, organize your data, governance with that, but start from your customers' needs.
First off, I appreciate you answering a data question with data. That just shows that we're going data first, regardless on this. So tons of great examples there, Bruno. Bring them real to me. Give me some real examples that you're hearing from our clients, where you're seeing them leverage data AI to improve the results of their business.
Great. So a lot of companies, as Filipe said, know their data values something, but most of them don't know how to use it and what's the real impact of using them. In my opinion, this is what I go through the customers is you should use your data to make your business decisions. So you need to understand how your company is impacting the world and use that to guide and thrive during your company journey. AI should be seen as a tool to do that because AI is not a new thing. We have been using AI for a lot of years, and mostly AI should be looked at a way of mimetizing the way humans do the thinking. Because before AI, we have like a business analyst that was looking to BI data, and they were checking for patterns, and then they would use this knowledge to make the business decisions. The thing is, the human mind has a limit of how much we can process, and the computers have a really higher processing power than human minds does. And that's where AI enters, because AI uses computers and computing power to understand the patterns and data, and that means that you can leverage, you can understand more about your data, and that means that you can use this to go through your business decisions in a more accurate approach. And the thing we are seeing here with my customers is I'm seeing a shift of using the data from a transactional approach, where you just handle your data for your company, your application, and then you need to understand how to get this in a way that goes through the business decision. And that's the thing, how you use your data to make your business decisions more accurate about the impact you go in the world.
Perfect. And adding to that, I recently read a really good book that's called Data is Everybody's Business, The Fundamentals of Data Monetization. And it really brings some processes to that. And it has a really cool cartoon that it treats like data and generating value from the data as a plant that we need to take care, right? So it says that like the data, those are the seeds, right? I mean, they are the seeds to something. So you plant the seeds, and then you need to maybe like just with the sunlight and water and all that, like just the basic stuff that will generate insights, right? That will generate some ideas. So that's what most companies are doing, and they're saying they're data driven, but basically they plant the seeds, and just like with natural stuff, then comes the insight. But then we need action, right? We actually need to water those plants. We need to take care of them. We need to add vitamins and all that. So that will make those insights grow. We'll make that plant grow. And finally, we'll generate value. Then we'll have the plant and generate value. We'll have the fruits, right? But then there's the last part. A lot of the companies, they generate value, but they don't realize that value. So that value is only worth it when someone comes and eats that fruit. Otherwise, it will spoil and it won't generate value. So what I see is a lot of companies in that first part of having their data, planting their seeds, and not really generating value from that. But yeah, we've had nice stories with customers that are starting their challenges from their business side. For example, we had a customer that they understood that they had a lack of vision related to their own customers and negotiating contracts with that. And they saw that improving their sales team negotiation strategy in like 0.1%, that would generate millions of dollars a year. So they started with that and they said, how can we give more information with analytics and BI, but also with machine learning and AI for recommendations to our sales team? We also had cases with customers in the manufacturing business where they understood the challenges of their downtime and the costs they had for maintenance. So using data, using AI, we could be more specific with the maintenance and have the same maintenance being more efficient. And instead of doing it every 10 years, it'd be every 12 years, and that would be millions of dollars saved. So we've seen a lot of companies, and I like the strategy is, where is most of my money, right? Where am I either spending more money or where can I make more money? And let me look at that part of my business and understand if data can help increase our profits.
So I think I love that flower analogy that's there. I think one of the barriers to that flower blooming is legacy technology. And when you look at some of these industries that have grown in finance and in the fintech space, moving in insurance, in healthcare in the United States, even some of these legacy manufacturing logistics that you're speaking about, these legacy applications, which are either homegrown or just built off, they are, I think, what's blocking them to innovate in that. How are you seeing some companies overcome that to be and stay competitive?
Right, that is definitely a really big challenge and probably the biggest, because it's like you have to change the plane while it's still flying, right? You can't just stop the plane. You have to keep that business going. So the most common approach is what we call the strangle strategy. So basically is we keep what's working the way it is. So separate a team for that. Either it could be an internal team, and that's something that we also help our customers. Sometimes our customers hire us to be that team to maintain that legacy application, while everything that's new will be built with new technology. And that's an approach that works really well, because at the end of the day, you prioritize changing first what needs to be changed. Because sometimes there are legacy applications that could live like that for a long time, while new features you can already build with new technologies. And you can develop that internally. You can count with partners such as eCore. Right now we have coding assistants, for example. In our software projects, we always deliver using those benefits, so we give more speed to that. So that's something that has been helping with modernization. A lot of technology can help with that. And also there are cloud technologies that really can help managing that development. So for that same endpoint, that same request, you can point to the legacy infrastructure, you can point to the new services, and for the customer, he won't even feel that, he won't even know if he's doing a request, if that's going to the legacy infrastructure, if that's going to the new technologies, and you'll be able to change. And at the end of the day, you'll strangle that legacy application, and you'll have a modern solution, and that will be faster to change. And in that approach, like in modern applications, each small team has to be the owner of their part of the application, and everything really needs to work independently. So I can't have to wait. I need to do a deploy, but the other team has another. These things need to be independent. So when you do that strangle approach, you start building that way, and that's been something that we've seen work really well for companies. And during that time, they can innovate.
Yeah, I think I connect to a recent article that I've wrote on team topologies, and it's around articulating your teams as a subcomponent or a component team, opposing to a feature team, and really thinking about how much money are you investing in something that is stuck in the past, and that gives that visibility to it. So it's unbelievable. All right, enough about data. You recently did an amazing webinar on FinOps. Filipe, I'm going to stick with you on this. Bruno, don't fall asleep on me. I'm coming back to you. Amazing webinar on FinOps. Tell me a little bit, just for somebody who's first hearing this word and being like, oh, great, another buzzword bingo. What is this? Why should we care? What are some of the key concepts?
Right. So FinOps, at the end of the day, it's quite simple, right? We've talked so much about FinOps here, and maybe we didn't even notice, because at the end of the day, it's about generating value with your technology, right? So where am I making money? How do I make money? So a little bit of the history, like Bruno said, like back in the days, if you wanted to start something new, you'd like the technology team, like the development team would call the infrastructure team and say, hey, I need a server. And then the infrastructure team would ask the procurement team to buy a server. They'd ask for that server. That would take months to get there. They configure everything, and they go, hey, infrastructure team, you can set that up. Infrastructure team configures everything. Hey, development team, now you can use it. 6 months to start innovating, right? And now in the cloud, like Bruno said, a couple of clicks. But with speed, you lost governance, you lost management, you lost cost control. So like before, you'd have a centralized structure that would decide on purchases, and now everyone could start launching things. And so FinOps is really about, at the end of the day, how do we manage that? How do we have speed while also controlling our costs? And towards the recent years, and how do we make more profit with this technology? So we stop looking at technology as a cost, and we actually look as a strategic part of the business, right? So that's basically the main concept. And at the end of the day, there's the FinOps Foundation has a really good material on that. Like you said, we had a recent webinar that gives a quick overview and already gives a couple of hints on how to start. But basically, we're talking about people, about processes, about tools, and about knowledge at the end of the day. And with that in mind, we'll be able to create this culture in our organization that will allow us to manage our costs, innovate with agility, and focus on what can generate more revenue to our company.
It's really interesting that it's a continuous cost evaluation, and everything goes towards, we used to think about cost on an annual basis, and then hope that came true. And now it's really, because things are so quick, so adaptive, that we need to monitor it more and more. Bruno, how are you seeing companies ensure that this efficiency allocation on cloud resources is being used optimally and reducing that waste and that operational cost? You have some kind of specific examples on that?
Yeah. Great. So in the same way that DevOps is like a cultural thing, and the value is how you bring this culture in your company, FinOps is the same. It is a great culture, but you really will get the value when you implement it in your IT solutions. And some practical examples is, for example, tagging. So all the resources that you create in the cloud, you should have a tagging mechanisms. And we here in eCore, we recommend 4 tags. The first one is which application that resources is about, what is the owner of that resource, what is the cost center of that resource, and which environment. So it's a dev environment, is a production environment. And this is like the basic ones. We could go further, but this is like basic to get started with FinOps. And why is it important? Because after you tag most of your resources, and we said with data, we have a more accurate way of making decisions. So for example, we can check how much is my development environment costing. Maybe it's like the same as the production. So something is wrong. Maybe the dev environment is on 24 hours a day, but my dev team works just 8 hours a day. So we have a lot of things to improve and optimize. And as we have the resources tagged, this can be looked at in. And that's the thing. You should see the tagging like a solution to be able to understand how your resources are being used. And as you know it, you can make decisions about how improving. So if you don't have FinOps, if you don't have your resource tag, it's like you are trying to go with a plane, but you have no sensors. You just have your eyesight So if you are going through a mountain or rain, you will not be able to see that. And tagging is the sensor and the way you can understand how the resources are being used in the cloud. And not only, but the thing is, tagging, you need to implement it. And that's something that eCore helps the customers, because we can go to your AWS account and implement the tagging. We can do some workshops to explain your team about the importance of doing this kind of FinOps approaches, because in the end of the day, we can tag everything now. And in 1 year, if your team does not maintain the solutions, we won't have the environment tagged. So the dev team, the infrastructure team, they need to know about the importance of FinOps, just the way we did like 10 years ago about DevOps, and every dev know, like every development team knows about Scrum. So the same goes with FinOps. We need the IT teams to know about it so they can implement in their day-to-day.
Perfect. And just to compliment, Dan, you said about annual planning and all that. When we're talking about FinOps right now, we're talking about variable budgets. I mean, like my family, my father comes from a financial background. If I came to him as someone that worked in enterprise and say, no, your IT team budget is variable per month, he said, no way. Like, how does that make sense? So with FinOps, we can go in that direction, but we start with a tagging strategy. So for example, we have a customer that they're an insurtech, and they automize, like they have automations to for automobile insurance, right? So when we started working with them, they had this spent in AWS, and they had a number of prices in requests that they had per month, right? During the years, their cost in AWS working with us went up 6 times, right? And I mean, they could come and say, hey, our costs went up 6 times. That's crazy. That's really bad. And we shouldn't be doing that. But they're doing more than 20 times. They're having more than 20 times more customers with that. So their spend went up 6 times, but their revenue went up more than 20 times because they're charging more by that. So at the end of the day, if someone from finance will have a concern and say you're spending too much, you can have the information, say, yeah, but I'm spending because I'm making this much more money for the company. Because I always say that I'm one of the biggest specialists in the world in reducing cloud costs. In 2 minutes, I could reduce your cost to 0. I'll log into your AWS account and I'll turn everything off, and boom, you're spending 0 in the cloud. And that's amazing, right? Of course not. I mean, that doesn't make sense. But the only way we can go against that argument is that if we know how we're making money with the cloud too. So with FinOps, with tagging, we can use that. And like Bruno said, we need to have that separated by application, and even to understand what part of our application and our development is more profitable to our business. And that will even help us make decisions in our roadmap to say, hey, wait, this part is really more profitable. We need to add new features here because there's more potential, and this other part, not so much. So that's a really important part. We need to start having visibility, right? You can't manage what you can't measure. And that's really true when we're talking about cloud costs and cloud profit.
So mainly you've spoken around cost control. You and I and Bruno and I, we've all talked about a little bit about data monetization. Sorry, big word for me. Can you guys just give me a little bit on this? Because I think that the FinOps concept could feel like an accountant trying to save money, but it's also about generating revenue based on that. You started hitting on some of that, Filipe, but can you hit on that a little further?
Right. So we don't mix up the concepts, right? There's one part related to FinOps that is understanding what makes money to our business, if it's what application makes money or which one. Like, for example, what is the cost per transaction, right? So maybe for an application, a cost per a transaction is a request or a purchase or something. I'll understand how much and how much revenue I make for a transaction. For example, we have a customer here in Brazil that they're a bank, right, a financial institution. And right now they have a challenge. They don't know, and they do a lot of currency conversion, right? They don't know the cost for a currency conversion right now. They don't know the cost right now for a transfer. If I want to transfer money to Dan or to Bruno, they don't know how much that costs them. How are they going to make decisions related to their pricing or their strategy related to that? So right now we're working. We worked with them. We started the year with the tagging strategy, and with that, they saved millions of dollars this year of just having visibility of the tags. And now we're improving related to the cost per transaction. So they're starting to understand how much a currency conversion costs, because then they can negotiate with their partners, and how much a wire transfer costs. With that, maybe my wire transfer is a little bit too expensive. Let's focus on developing improvements there, because my conversion, that's already profitable to me. So now you can start making decisions and focusing your roadmap on where you need to increase your company's margin. That's one part. And when we're talking about data monetization, we're talking a little bit more about creating data products, right? And usually we can separate the data products in three groups, right? One is related to improvements. So you either improve a process, you make something more efficient or something like that. We have something that's more like wrapping up, something like giving a better view, a cleaner view of some information. And finally, we have really information solutions, right? And that's when we're really selling our data, right? So if we're a marketing company and we have some business intelligence, we could separate that in three levels, right? We could just give out our data set. We could give some BI tool where they could manage and see, oh, they have this much sale. Or we could really monetize over our data, like, for example, Google or Facebook do, right? They're not giving you the raw data. They're giving you a product on top of their data, like building ads or something like that. Because when we talk about data monetization, people always think about selling data, but we need to think more about data products, and we can separate the data products in these three groups: improvements, wraps, or information solution. And that everything's going to connect with FinOps at the end of the day, because when you understand where you can make money with your business, when you can understand where you're spending with technology, you can make more decisions on where you can innovate, and then you can work backwards from what are your customers' needs and think of data products.
Unbelievable. This is our time box. I get to the privilege of just putting time on each of your calendars whenever I want to spend more time and learn more from you guys. For those of you that are listening, if you do want more insights from us, please reach out, please listen, and we're happy to come in and help understand what your scenario is and how cloud computing and AWS can help us kind of support your business problems that are there. Bruno, Filipe, thank you for taking the time today. For everyone listening, thank you for listening. This is the first of many of these fireside chats, and we hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.